All right, let's get this show on the road, shall we? Okay, 20-second delay as usual. um, excuse me, have a little bit of a bug in my throat. Um, so you might be wondering what the heck this scene is. Why the arrows? Why all the primitives? Essentially, what I'm doing is I've made a template. Well, let's back up first. You guys have probably all seen the email. Like, what are you doing with mannequins? Why are you messing around with mannequins? Well, when I went to the Lightbox studio last weekend, I saw Jaime. He is the CEO of Pixelogic. We get along really well, and he loves stylized stuff, specifically stylized stuff being done with ZBrush, because most of the time people do realistic stuff and or monsters or realistic monsters, right? So whenever they see stylized characters, they're just like, yay, we can do stylized too. So he's always coming to me asking, for some stylized examples to show people that can be done with ZBrush. So the other day he said he was cruising around ZBrush Central. Let me pull this up. ZBrush Central, and then he saw this. I think it was the top row. Can't remember where it went. So let's see. It's down here a little bit. Come on. Maybe I'll just go to the gallery and look. Or maybe it's in regular. Hold on a second. So anyway, no, Ofer is the programmer. Well, it's the combination of the two of them. So it's Jaime and Ofer. That's the two partners that created Pixelogic / ZBrush. Okay, Ofer is like the artist / programmer, like the main programmer, and then Jaime does all the business stuff and the finances and all that stuff. Hey, somebody made this that I was just making. Okay. Hold on, I want to see who that was. Well, all right. I bet they were watching my stream. I just barely made this guy during my stream Monday. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting distracted. Squirrel moment. I can't find it. Where? Oh, here it is. Okay, so this guy wanted to do this Frazetta painting, sculpt, right? And he used the mannequins to block it out with. And then he's essentially just sculpting on the mannequins and making them, be sculpts when they're done. But he starts with the mannequins like this, and then he just works them out later on. It's really crazy. So, hey, what's up, Emma? So, essentially, he had the grand idea of, you know what? These mannequins have been in there forever. They're super powerful. We need to educate people more on them and get more of them in the product. So he was he called me up and asked me if I would make as many as I could before the ZBrush Summit. So I had a meeting with him, Ofer, and Paul Gabri last night, talking about how mannequins work and figuring it out. So hold on a second. Let me just save this. And because the mannequins are in project files. They're not in ZTools. So where you can find them, and I don't know why my ZBrush is being so slow, but there's a handful that people have made. And with mannequins, for me, I've always thought that they were made by like Ofer and Ryan Kingsland and people like that, and that users really couldn't make them. Okay, so if you go to mannequins right here, you can see all of these, and it looks like, these are just the mannequins you get, and you can't really edit them, right? Well, come to find out, you totally can make your own mannequins, and it's quite simple. All these are Z-sphere rigs with pieces replaced in between the Z-spheres. So let's pop this elephant open. So Pablo made this elephant. And if you follow Pablo and are on his newsletter, you may have seen an email from him like super recently, maybe as recently as yesterday, explaining how mannequins work and how to build them. So this is one of Pablo's creatures here, and yeah, it's super nice. He's replaced like the ear Z-sphere connector with a cylinder, and I'm going to show you how to do that. You got it the other day. Okay, cool. So and then there's these see these tapered. See how this tapers down? This is one, and then there's just like a cylinder that is one. Here's a cylinder. Here's a cylinder, and the size and shape of the cylinder is dependent on the Z-sphere that it's connected to. Okay, so I'm going to show you how this whole thing works. I got really confused. I had to get Paul on a meeting so he could show me exactly how to do it because it just wasn't working for me. And I will show you why here in a second. So I'm going to clear this elephant out of here. And I'm just going to start back with the 3D Character Workshop project file here with the ruler. And you can see this sphere. I'm going to turn off transparency. Okay, so I'm going to hide the ruler. We just have the sphere. Now to start, what you need to do is just go to append and then append a Z-sphere. Okay, it's going to put it right here. We can even delete this one right here. Okay, so now we have this Z-sphere. And with Z-spheres, I don't know how many of you have played with Z-spheres, but they're essentially just, you can make a mesh based on these spheres. So if you go to draw, you can, yeah, Pablo Gomez, sorry. Okay, let me turn on symmetry. Okay, so you can essentially just draw out these spheres, and then you can use like move, rotate, scale to move them around. You can grab this bone, rotate it around, and you can grab scale and scale these different spheres like this, right? So, so essentially, if you hit A, okay, there's two algorithms. So there's a new algorithm, they call it Z-Sphere 2.0, and there's the old algorithm, which is called Z-Sphere Classic. So, yeah, his newsletters are pretty good. And we help each other out. He's got a course now. I've helped him put his course together. He teaches a lot of really good stuff too. So, okay. Anyway, as you can see, when I hit A, it has dynameshed this whole thing, but is dynameshed it based on the lower resolution of the original spheres, right? And it's not permanent. I can push A again and go back to these Z-spheres. And how I do this, you used to use it all the time before 3D Character Workshop, but now you just block it out. Yeah, so do I, right? I use Z-spheres for some quick stuff once in a while still. So it's kind of funny because I've kind of shunned Z-spheres a little bit, you know, because it's like blocking out in tubes. The only thing you get are tubes, right? So you're very, very limited in what you can do, and they're all connected. With blocking out with shapes, your shapes are not connected, so it allows for easier editing. But there is something to be said about blocking out a character with Z-spheres because, like you guys said, it's kind of like having a built-in rig, and you can pose your characters and stuff like that. And I didn't know that you can replace all of these connected spheres in between. You can replace that with geometry, which is really cool, and I'm going to show you how to do that really soon. Anyway, this is kind of the Z-sphere basics. You can drag out a Z-sphere. And then if you go down to adaptive skin is essentially where you'll find all of what Z-spheres can turn into, okay? So if you turn Dynamesh down to 0, then hit A again, you'll see that it gives you this really nice clean mesh. This is Z-Sphere 2.0 mesh, okay? So this is a lot better than how the classic skinning used to work, okay? So this is almost usable as a block. Well, it is usable as a block out, and it does a really good job, okay? So this is really much nicer than classic skinning. So here, let me show you an example. If I hit A again, you can see right here this button, it says use classic skinning. If I turn that on, and then I hit A again, This is classic skinning, not nearly as usable as the new stuff. Okay? Yeah, blocky, bad, horrible. I'm going to pull up some examples of some Z-sphere characters that I've been building lately, some animals, and the difference between classic and new skinning is quite big. Okay, so hitting preview is the same as hitting A on your keyboard. So that's preview. Okay. So there's a couple of caveats here that I need to explain to you. The classic Z-spheres used to have 3 different functionalities that are no longer available in Z-sphere 2.0, and that is negative spheres. So if I drew out another sphere and then I changed to move and I pushed it in, you can see it makes this negative sphere. Okay, and if I hit A to preview, let me turn the floor off. If I hit A to preview it, you can see that it pushes it in and it makes a new circle. Okay, so that is a really cool function, especially if you're going to do face, like you're pushing in eye sockets. I think Matt Thorup used to use this method a lot when he would make his heads, is he would go and push in a mouth, push in the eye sockets, and give him a nice starting ring to work with. But 2.0, so if I turn classic skinning off and hit A, you'll see it doesn't work. It gives you the rings, but it doesn't give you the inverse, the indent, the negative, okay? But it does give you the rings, okay? So you could still use it for a face, but it just wouldn't push it in. You'd have to push it in manually after the fact. Okay, another thing that doesn't work, and how to get rid of this really quickly, how to get rid of a Z-sphere is you have to be in draw mode, okay, so which is Q, and then you have to hold down Alt and tap on the Z-sphere and it'll go away. Okay. Yeah, Cyber Chris, I'm going to show you some really cool ball joints. It's going to be super cool. Okay. Another thing that classic skinning had or has is these magnet spheres. Okay. So I'm going to draw a magnet sphere out right here. Not that big. Move it out here. And if I click on, I'm trying to remember how I do it. Control. Gosh, I'm trying to remember how to do it. I can't remember. Anyway, it would make this go, it would make the sphere go kind of semi see-through, and then it would kind of affect the mesh and pull it. Hold on a second. I'm trying to remember how you do it. Alt click on the link sphere to create the magnet. That's what I was trying to do. What's going on? It's not working. Let me do one more, drag it out. Maybe it's because it's on the root. No, I don't know. Oh, you have to be in draw mode. There it goes. You have to be in draw mode. All right. So this is a magnet sphere right here. Okay. Hey, what's up, Ika? Hey, what's up, Rob? So this is a magnet sphere, and it only works in classic skinning mode. So if I hit A, you can see it does weird stuff. I don't even know how I could use that, but there you go. And if I turn off classic skinning and hit A, you'll see it just ignores it and it just skins it normally. So yeah, not. I've never really used magnet spheres. They're too hard to control. It's like you're trying to model invisibly, right? I don't even know what's happening right now behind the scenes until I push A and I see what's going on, right? What's happening with that. Okay, so anyway, I just wanted to let you know that that's there. And then the third thing that you don't have access to with Z Spheres 2.0 is the mannequin system, okay? The mannequin system is right here. Insert local mesh and insert connector mesh. Okay, I'm going to show you that right now. Okay, so let me hide this or delete this sphere, okay? Now, if I push A right now in classic skinning, you'll see it looks like this, okay? And that's not necessarily what I want. I can replace all of these z-spheres with a mesh. And so what I have to do with that, and this is where I got tripped up. That's why I had to had to call Paul. Paul Gabriel. I'm like, Paul, what am I doing? This isn't working. What's going on? So essentially, here I'll do what I did accidentally, and then I'll show you the right way to do it. So I used move, I selected this sphere, and when I select it, you can see that these two buttons light up. See, insert local mesh, which means replace the z-sphere, and then insert connector mesh, which means replace these connection spheres in between, okay? So I'm gonna hit insert local mesh. Let's see. I'm just gonna use this star so it's completely clearly apparent what's happening, okay? Look what happened. So it replaced that z-sphere with the star, but it just completely deleted the connector spheres. They just went away, okay? So I'm just like, what's happening? So lucky, this is z-spheres. So that was wrong. Okay, so I'm going to go back and I'm going to say, with this z-sphere selected, I'm going to go insert connector mesh and pick that same star. So now you can see that that star is being stretched between the two z-spheres. And when I move, that end z-sphere goes away. Yeah, it's really trippy. So I actually have to have a chain of z-spheres in order for this to work. But if I have a chain, watch what happens now. If I draw a new one, look at that. And if I draw a new, here's another functionality that's kind of a hidden zinger, whatever, a hidden thing with ZBrush. If I hold down Shift, click on here, it's going to make a brand new Z-sphere exactly the same size and length as the one that was there before. So I have to be in draw mode. Why isn't it doing it? It does it occasionally. Okay, so what's going on here is something I don't want, right? I want to see the z-spheres in between each one of these. So how do I do this? Yeah, Lucky, I'll show you. We'll get to the point where you can actually I'll show you how to use it and how it works, okay? I'm just kind of digging into all the functionality so you can understand why it works the way it does. Okay, so there is a root z-sphere, okay? Yeah, it's not really a gem, it's just a thing. That's a good point. Okay, if I go back to move, this is the root z-sphere. This will never go away, it will never get replaced, it will always be a z-sphere. But if you want to replace all of these z-spheres in your entire z-sphere rig, let's just call it a z-sphere rig, you have to select this root first, and this is what Paul Gabriel had to tell me, okay? Select the root, and then while it's selected, go over to Insert Local Mesh, then I can replace it with, say, this sphere. And see, now all of them appear down the chain, like that. See that? Yeah, it does look like a cork opener, wine opener. Okay, so now you can see that all of the z-spheres down the chain have been replaced, but not these ones because I didn't insert a connection mesh in between these two. So this is still a z-sphere. So now when I hit A, this is what happens. Okay, these normal z-spheres get skinned like normal z-spheres do. And then these stars actually get a subdivision level applied to them, and so do these spheres. Okay? So the root sphere is like an armature base bone? Absolutely. Yep. So if you delete it, the rest of the armature will be gone? Correct. Yep, that is totally correct. Okay. So can you see the difference? And the reason why it had a level of subdivision applied is because if you see the word density over here, density 2, okay, I can actually crank that up to 3, and you can see it's added now 3 levels of subdivision. Okay, and I can also pull it down to 1, and now it's 1 for 1, and it looks exactly like the meshes that I had in the first place. Okay, they're not subdivided. Okay, so now I'm going to replace this one too. And you'll notice that the leaf bone, that's what we call them in rigging, but the bone that's on the very, very end, the z-sphere gets hidden no matter what. It just goes away. and that will play into, it's actually a strength of the mannequin, because it will allow us to replace this connector mesh with like a horn or a hoof or a hand or something like that that's on the end of your chain, which is really cool. And another thing to note is that you can replace each one of these, what are they called? The connector meshes. You can replace each one with a different mesh. They don't all have to be the star. But the Z-spheres, they all have to be the same because they get this. It's so bizarre. Man, Pixelogic sometimes. So the Z-spheres, they can only be, they all have to be the same mesh. Okay? Yep. You are my density. I mean my destiny. So the Z-spheres, they can be replaced, but they all have to be replaced with the same mesh all across the board. And the only way you can assign them is through the root Z-sphere. Okay, so that's like a thing to write down. You can replace all the connector meshes, and they can be replaced by each one can be replaced by a different mesh. But the Z-spheres, they can only be one mesh throughout the entire thing, and they're usually a sphere because those will then become the joints. Okay, so that being said, now think about what I just taught you, okay, about mannequins, and let's go look at a mannequin really quick. Again, okay, so now that you've seen that example, I'm going to grab this mannequin right here. Okay, so this is a mannequin that Ophir built, okay? Now check this out. All of the white spheres, well, you can see the root Z-sphere. See how it doesn't change. It never changes. It's the root. Okay, it will always look like a Z-sphere. It will never get replaced by one of these. But when you do push A, well, if you push A and the Dynamesh is turned on, it's going to Dynamesh. And then you can go right to sculpting from here, okay? But if you turn Dynamesh down to 0 and you look at it, see, it does turn into a sphere mesh when you turn on adaptive skinning, but when you're just looking at it like this, you'll always see it as a Z-sphere, and you'll know that that's the root, and that's how you can change all of these white spheres with something. Okay, now check out in between these Z-spheres. Okay, so here's a cylinder. This is a cylinder that's being tapered, and the taper is actually happening because this Z-sphere is smaller than this one. So that's actually the same cylinder as this, but it's being tapered by the Z-sphere next to it. Does that make sense? And then this Z-sphere is the same size as this one, just about. It's tapering a little bit, but it's the same cylinder. And this cylinder is getting stretched a little bit. So you can see kind of this little shelf, this plane change right here. This is like the average cylinder, but when it gets stretched, that plane change also gets stretched and it changes the taper of it, which is kind of a thing that just drives me crazy a little bit, okay? And then this, you'll notice, this is like the head, right? But it's a cylinder that has kind of this hemisphere on the top. And if I hover over here, you can see kind of the silhouette of the Z-sphere that is being turned off and hidden because it's a leaf bone. It's really powerful because now I don't have to have a Z-sphere like another one of these white spheres on the end, on the top of his head, because that would kind of make this whole mannequin unusable. And it wouldn't look like a head. It would look like a head with another sphere sticking there. So if you look at the hand, this connector, you can see the Z-sphere that's at the end here that's being hidden. This connector mesh is being replaced by a stretched sphere. Okay, so then it looks like a quote-unquote hand or whatever. Okay, and it's the exact same thing with the foot. And I'll show you. I've gone ahead and made a bunch of these shapes that you can replace in the middle of your connections that will give you even more power. So, and I'm going to share that file with you, that Z tool with you, so you can make your own mannequins, because it's actually a lot of fun. Okay, so let's see. Z-spheres are way better than Blender skin modifier. Yeah, they can be really powerful. And I'm actually, when I go down to the ZBrush Summit, I want to kind of pull Ophir to the side and say, if you could figure out how to turn this Z-sphere rig into a real rig and export it as bones into like Maya or something, and all of the bones come along with it, and then all we have to do is skin it, that would be absurd. That would speed up your workflow immensely, right? So, hey, what's up, Sean? No worries. Okay, you were asking, this mannequin can be completely modified with all of the transform manipulators. Okay, so I'm going to grab move, which is essentially W, and if I grab one of these with mirroring turned on, I can move this Z-sphere and stretch it. And you can see how the meshes in between those two Z-spheres, well, 3 now, you can see how the connection mesh is getting stretched. So if you look at these two spheres, the closer I get, the more this becomes a regular cylinder. And the more I stretch it, the more it becomes like a stretched cylinder, okay? This is like a stretched and tapered cylinder. 56, yes, awesome. I think that's a record. Okay, so you can see that this shape is like an upside down bottle. That's what shape this is. And it essentially works like a, it's kind of like a tapered joint. So if you want to manipulate this, this character and like pose it like as if you were an animator, you can grab rotate and grab one of these bones in the middle, right? And just rotate it like this. That way it will keep the length. And there is a little bit of IK built in to the hand. I'm trying to remember how, I think, if you grab move, there you go. So if you're in move and you grab the in-between joint rather than the joint itself, I'll just call these bones. If you grab the bones, you don't grab the joint, it has a little bit of IK built into it. Okay, so if I grab this one, you can see how the hand kind of stays the same. Okay? So how would you move the rest of the children along with that elbow joint? That's how you do it. So you just go further up the chain to move them all together. Or you can actually grab, if you grab the joint itself, that's when you're going to break your bone lengths. Okay? So if you grab rotate, and you try and rotate these joints, they're going to spin on their axis like this. Okay? And if you grab the actual joint, you can rotate it, and it's based off of camera. Okay? So if you rotate your camera, then you can rotate the arm back and forth based on the camera plane. Yeah, Z-spheres have they've come a long ways. And like I said, when I saw these mannequins, I'm like, oh, they built mannequins like in Maya or something, and then they brought them in here and then they rigged them up somehow, and I have no idea. And then you're just kind of stuck with these mannequins. But you can actually make your own, and it's really powerful. And you can replace all of these connection meshes. So I'm going to show you how to do that. All right. So do you guys understand how these mannequins kind of work now? And basically you can go through, and if you go grab W and you hold down Alt, you can move the entire thing. Okay? And then if you hold down Alt here, like say on this one, come on. It's supposed to just move from there down. Let me do this leg. Yeah, there you go. So if you hold down Alt on this joint, it's going to move this entire length all together rather than doing like this or this. Okay. Awesome. Okay. So let's, I'm going to show you some animals that I was making with just a Z-sphere rig. Okay. So what Jaime wanted me to do was make a bunch of animals, as many as I can before the ZBrush Summit. Okay. So I'll open up this elk just so you can see it. Okay, so here's an elk, and it's just made of Z-spheres. So when he asked me to make these, he's like, you know, Z-spheres are really powerful. We should just make a whole bunch and stick them in there so people can then pose them and make a scene out of them, and um, it would, you know, just help people speed up their process, right? Um, but we got talking, and I started asking them, well, how do mannequins work? Did you make them outside of ZBrush and bring them in, or how do they work? And then that's when they walked me through the entire process on how to make a mannequin. Okay, so oh, thanks so much. So this is just an elk that I made with Z spheres, and it's not built like a mannequin. It's just Z spheres. Okay, so I just essentially I started with the Z sphere, and I just started drawing out Z spheres, and yeah, it kind of does look like Rudolph, especially with that that pink nose. So so what's cool about this is it works just like a mannequin does, as far as like posing it. Gosh dang, come on, like posing it like this, or I can rotate. Like I can rotate this and move his head, go down to the next joint and move his head. And that's how you can kind of animate him a little bit, you know? And you can rotate. I'm actually moving both because it's mirrored right now. Okay, so how do we make a mannequin out of this guy? Well, let me show you a couple more before we get going. I made a ram. Here's a ram. See, I wanted to make him fluffy and make his horn kind of curved and stuff. Let's see, I made a rabbit. So this rabbit, you can see how it's got some transparent areas right here. Well, the reason why it's transparent is because it's telling me that I'm breaking it. Okay, I'm getting too close. Okay, it's like I'm getting the head sphere too close to the body sphere, and it's making the rabbit kind of break a little bit. So if I hit A, you can see how it's just really stretching out the meshes, okay? But it's still workable. This mesh is still usable. This is the Z-Sphere 2.0 mesh, okay? See how much better it used? So let me turn on Classic so you can see what it looks like. So use Classic skinning. Look at that garbage. Why would who would be able to use that? Nobody. That's who, right? So rabbit stung by bees, for sure. Okay, so yeah, I like fluffy chest and big fat feet. Anyway, it's fun. Okay, so I love to exaggerate things. You know me. I made an otter. It's like laying down on its back, like doing its thing in the ocean, like floating by. So here is the 2.0 on the otter, and you can see I did push in his eyeball right here because I was hoping it would work, but it didn't, and that's how I found out that it didn't work anymore. So it did make a nice eye kind of mesh right here, but yeah, this is an otter. And let's see, I made an ostrich, which is kind of fun. So this is actually a lot of fun. I just put on some good music, and I was just, you know, drawing Z-spheres. Yeah, it needs a Z-sphere ball, right? It totally does. So here it is, skinned with 2.0. Now, here's something I wanted to point out. See how it's straight and straight and straight? How it has these corners on it? I talked to Pixelogic people about that. The only way you can fix it is guess. Add more Z-spheres. Okay, so if you want to add a Z-sphere in the center of a chain like this, all you have to do is go to draw mode and just click somewhere in the middle, and it'll add a new one. And then you can go to move and just kind of move it so it has more of an angle on it, right? Like this. Okay. Could you give us the use case? You would start with this, make a rough character, and Z-remesh it. Yes, exactly. Yep, exactly. Ezra, I need to make an alpaca, huh? So that's kind of the idea, Lucky, is just you could, if you want to, if you enjoy this workflow better than the insert object workflow, then by all means you could totally use this. Okay, if maybe it will make you faster this way, or maybe it won't. I don't know, but like you can get to here much quicker because now I don't have to do the merge. You know, the remesh by union. I don't have to do that and then z-remesh it. It kind of already comes with a mesh. It's ready to go, kind of, and you can see the feet and how they work. And so basically what you would do, say you were done with this. Okay, you're like, okay, I like that. That's a good base mesh. Let's go. And what you do is, see this little button down here that says Make Adaptive Skin? If I click on that, what it's going to do is it's going to make a brand new Z tool up here that is only that mesh. So if I click on that mesh right here, I was actually thinking about a jackalope. Okay, so now I have just the mesh, right? And it has one subdivision level on it. It comes with the subdivision level because I said density 2. So it came with that subdivision level. I'm going to go down in subdivision so it's on the lowest. Now I can go clean up this neck, right? So I can go my smooth intensity. I just kind of smooth this neck right down and just start kind of going and fixing everything, right? And just like where this leg is overlapping the inside a little too much, I can bring that closer in. Bring this closer and just kind of smooth things out. I can make a sharper knee now. Sharper shoulders if I wanted to. Sharper whatever this is. A knee. An ostrich knee. Anyway, so you could get a mesh in here really quickly and then just start going to town on the shapes, right? And just start messing with it. I don't know. I'm just messing with it. Okay. Yep, I'm gonna do that, Lucky. That's why you're here. I was just talking to Scott Briscoe earlier today, and I'm like, okay, I have this really daunting task of making as many animals as I possibly can before the ZBrush Summit. Should I stream baking sirloin's map some more, or should I just go ahead and stream what I'm doing? And he's like, yeah, just stream what you're doing. Let's do it. So now doing it this method, do you still redo your polygroups? Oh, you can do whatever you want. These are the existing polygroups that were left from the Z-spheres, but you know, you can see there's a whole bunch in this neck. Whoops. And I don't need that many, right? So I can just go through here and get rid of them. It doesn't. Polygroups are just temporary selection sets, right? So it just depends on what you need. A penguin and a crab? Yeah, you guys are just gonna like just start yelling out what you want me to make. Okay, so just let me go back here, and I just want to talk to you about the mannequins again. Okay. So how do I make this into a mannequin? Well, again, what I have to do is I have to select the main sphere, which is this main body one. Go down to Adaptive Skin, and then I need to pick Insert Local Mesh. Hold on a second though, because I need to bring in all my parts that I made. So let me load my parts tool. Okay, I've been making parts. Let's see. The ostrich from Family Guy. Okay, hold on. So before you made an adaptive skin, could you duplicate it and keep the Z-sphere rig and then use that as a rig to pose after you're done sculpting? Cyber Chris, that is an awesome question, and indeed you may. Absolutely, you totally can. Okay. Yeah, and it does make a duplicate by default. So when you say make adaptive skin, it kept. So here is my Z-sphere rig right here, and here's the adaptive mesh. Okay, so there they both are, and I can just, you know, append my mesh into my Z-sphere rig and then use it as a rig. Yeah. The Mannequins challenge. That's not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. Okay, so I've made a template for myself, but I can share it with you guys. Okay, so how the mannequins work is I've made two spheres. These are my template spheres. Okay, and let's see. I have my floor turned on. So in theory, since you already made the base Z-sphere, could you just simplify the rig in ZBrush, the base Z-sphere? Yeah, yep, totally. Yep, you can just totally simplify it. Okay, so I put some arrows in here because you have to have, just like with an insert multi-mesh, you have to have the meshes facing a certain direction in order for them to insert correctly. So I gave myself some arrows as guides, and this arrow right here is saying this is the direction of the chain. So you would think that it would go down or something, you know, but it goes positive Z. Okay, so you can see this blue line. The chain goes positive Z. And then this arrow is signifying the interior of the character. So like the insides of the legs or the insides of the arms or something like that. Okay, so I just wanted this to tell me, just when I'm making these shapes, I want an indicator to say, okay, this is going to be the inside of the character and this is where the chain goes down. Okay, then I made two spheres representing the Z spheres that were going to be there to connect the connections and mesh to. And how this works is it's not very controllable, okay? It works as with a bounding box, an invisible bounding box. So I made a bounding box right here, and it's close, but it's not perfect, okay? But because it's actually a little bit bigger than the box I made. But basically how it works is it will stretch a mesh in between the center of both of those Z-spheres. Okay, so you cannot go past the center of the Z-sphere. It just doesn't work. Okay, so my ZBrush has been really slow saving stuff today. I don't know why. I mean, I have a whole bunch of stuff loaded, but they're just Z-spheres, so it shouldn't take too long. Anyway, so let me show you an example. If I select this and I turn on transparency and I look from the side, you can see this mesh, how it ends right at the center of that sphere. Okay, and this side ends right in the center of this sphere. And then it will use that bounding box and it will stretch that mesh in between two spheres. Okay, so can you put in all the IMM appendages in your armatures? Yeah, absolutely, but they don't work as well as you would think. Cylinders work better. This is actually my this is my appendage brush inserted. I wanted to show you guys what it would look like if I put it in here, and this is what it looks like, and it will look kind of tapered, not like the transition to the next sphere in the line is not a nice transition. It bumps out too much. Okay, so I've gone through and I've made a whole bunch of these. So I made here, let me hide this one, and I'm still making some, but I made a sphere just that we can stretch between the two. I'll turn off transparency, okay? So I made a sphere, I made a hemisphere, which is just half a sphere. And then I made this tapered one. This is one I actually took from Pablo. So Pablo had this one in his elephant, and I snagged it from his elephant. And then I made this one that had the inside flat. So it's kind of the same tapered thing, but the interior is flat. I really like this one. And then, yeah, you can just build these. You can just build these meshes. You could actually build them in Maya or whatever if you wanted to. But I've just built a couple inside of ZBrush, and that's how I built them. Just I'm using these two spheres as a template, so I can kind of see how they're going to interact with the Z-spheres when I actually use them. Okay, so this is just the base cylinder. I pulled this out of O'Fair's mannequin. So, and then I Z-remeshed it because it wasn't very optimized. It had poles at both ends, and this one actually has quads. You know, I'm a big quad fan, right? So Now it looks like a Vienna sausage, but this is what the cylinder looked like. So it actually overlaps and tapers in there, and it works pretty well. Okay, this is one of my favorite ones. And then here's, this is a notched one where you can kind of see how it kind of notches out. This is one that Pablo, I took from his elephant again. I don't know how often I'll use that one. And this is another one from O'Farrell. This one I don't really like as much because, again, the taper goes down too small to this next sphere. And it creates a large plane change in between the two. What I'm really trying to get is a nice transition between the ball joints and then the next ball joint, right? So you're wanting a sphere. Then I made a talon. So you can use this as like a tooth or a nail or a horn or anything like that, just kind of a talon. And this is meant to be for a leaf bone at the very, very end where the Z-sphere is hidden, right? So I can make claws if I wanted to. And this is just a stretched sphere that's been lopped. So I can use this for like ears and all sorts of stuff, okay? Do you think you'll end up remaking the blockout flow on this site with this flow or not? Not quite yet. I need to test it out, Lucky. I don't know. I'm still a huge fan of blocking out characters with objects because it's so editable, right? I mean, this is editable too, but this is editable with a lot of restrictions put on you, okay? So I can show a block out to an art director and get approval, but I doubt I could show a Z-sphere rig to an art director and have him go, yeah, that's not going to work. You know what I mean? It's so, for example, here, let me show you. And it's something I've just uploaded recently. So for all of you watching here today, you get a little gift. So, you get first dibs on, you can go download this right now. I just uploaded it to the download section. But I want to show you, so here's a male block out, right? See how it's different than a Z-sphere block out? Okay. Yeah, you shouldn't be, this is just more fun, more things to play with. Don't be so conflicted. I don't want to overwhelm you with too many choices. I just want to say, hey, this is another thing that's, yeah, and it's for pose ideas and stuff like that too. Anyway, here's a female block out, and because so many people are making base meshes that it's just, I wanted to give you guys some base meshes so you can look at them, you know, right up close and study them and just kind of get a feel for what a good base mesh should look like. Okay, so I'm going to show you where these are, okay, just so you know. So you can go grab them right now if you want to. So if you go to 3D Character Workshop, whoops, not 3C, 3DC, okay? Go to your library and go to View and go to Getting Started and see this one right here, Your Links and Downloads. It's right here, okay? So let me back up and I'll walk you through that one more time. So go to the course, open it up, just the main one. Here, let me back up one more time, okay? So 3D Character Workshop, Getting Started, and Your Links and Downloads, okay? And they're right here. Male, female base meshes. That's it. Just go grab them. They're right there. You guys are most welcome. Yep, free stuff. No extra cost. So yeah, I was just checking out ArtStation and seeing all these, everybody giving away tons and tons of base meshes, and I'm just like, oh, okay. People are downloading these base meshes that are just okay for stylized characters. There's some that are just bad. So rather than, I know a lot of you guys are gonna go get them, you know, and I'm just like, rather than getting some that are not that great, I'll just make you some. Okay. Hugs. You are welcome. All right. So you can go, yeah, you can go play with those. Go check out. It should help you guys with proportions, anatomy, and all that kind of stuff. So, all right. You're welcome. Thank you guys for hanging out with me on the student live streams, you know. that means a lot. And you can also, yeah, check out the hands. There's a big difference between the male and female hands. All sorts of stuff. Okay, so where was I? Let's go back to these parts. Now you guys are all distracted. I did make some really kind of weird organic. I was thinking like bones, you know, bones connecting joints, just kind of bone shapes for fun. I was just trying two different ones right there. You're curious to learn what makes a bad, not useful base mesh? Just proportions and shapes. Essentially, that's it. Let's see. Let's just go to ArtStation for a second, shall we? And I don't want to call out bad. You know, if you go to Marketplace up here and you type in base mesh, you'll be nailed with a ton of them. And there's some good ones, and there are some okay ones. Like this one is just okay. See, it's just, yeah, it's very bubbly, and just the proportions are a little off. And then this is my friend Bryce's. I really love the way he did his arms and hands, but that pelvis, I don't know what's happening with the pelvis. But the legs are nice. And he gives away eyeballs with this one and a head. It's got a cool head in here. But there are some really, really good ones. Let me show you. If I were to download a solid one, let me see. One by Vince is pretty dang good. This male head base mesh is pretty good. There's some very high and anatomical ones that are closer to realism, you know. You can check those out for reference. You know, it's always good to have reference. But then there's just some that are just anatomy light. These are pretty good right here. Vivian? I don't know what that is. Is that Vivian? So anyway, yeah, there's a ton of them out there. So I'm just like, I should probably just give you guys some. You yoinked them, yoink. Okay, I appreciate it, Garuga. Thank you so much. Okay, I just wanted to make one more, and I just want to show you how I make these. Okay, so I'm going to hide this one. I'm going to grab the parts. So these two spheres right here. Gives away eyeballs too. Here, take my eyes. You can have them. I don't need them. Okay, so I'm going to delete, well, this is how I make these, just so I can keep the meshes on the 0, 0. Okay, I'm going to duplicate these two spheres right here, and if I turn on my gizmo, if I use this gear and choose a primitive in here, what happens is, like this polysphere, what happens is it replaces those objects with whatever I choose, okay? I want to replace, I only want one of them. I don't want them both. So I'm going to turn off symmetry and delete this one. Oh, come on. Restore custom config. Okay. Delete hidden. There we go. So this one, I want to replace this mesh, okay? So if I turn on my gizmo, I could actually go home with the gizmo. I think it will replace it wherever the gizmo is at. Let's see if I'm right. Yep, there it goes. Okay, polysphere. So it just replaced that old mesh with this new sphere, okay? And now I just click on this gear and go back to Gizmo 3D. And then I just want to scale it on two axes. I don't know how to say that. Two axes, okay? And basically how you do it is you hold down Control plus Alt, and you can hit scale down on Z. or Z, whatever you want to call it, and that's what it'll do. Now if I turn on transparency, you can see that the ends are exactly where I need them to be in order for this to work. Okay, so this is a new mesh that will work as an insert or a connection replacement mesh. Okay. Yes, yeah, guy, you could make a bone, honestly. You can make bones that connect in between. It's pretty powerful. You could like literally, I almost want to do that. Let me, I think I can go load a tool from, let me save this first in case I accidentally mess it up. Parts, okay. Yeah, you can put you can put anything in between two z-spheres. Any mesh will work. You could put a car in between two z-spheres and stretch it around. And I was also thinking about leaf, the leaf ones where it's like at the very tip. You could actually make a leaf into a head, and you could have that like a head mesh. Maybe even a head mesh with proper loops on it. You could even do that. So, yep, incremental save. I wish, I mean, it does have quick save, but it's not the same. Let's see. But yeah, I'll usually put like part 02, 03. Okay, load tool. No, not load tool. It's underneath this tool. There's a skeleton, I believe. Yeah, a Ryan Kingsland skeleton. So let's load that into here. Because I just want to grab a bone out of here and just see if I can make it and see what it does. That'd be kind of fun. Okay, I need to auto group all this. And then let's grab these two. Okay. Group them, delete hidden, go back to my parts one, and then append that mesh. So now I have this skeleton here. It's not going to work as well as you think it's going to work, though. Just so you know. Okay, and then I just have to line it up. Turn off mirroring. And then I have to make the tip of the bone here end in the middle of this sphere, and the tip of this bone end in the middle of this sphere. So I'm going to actually scale it down like this. But I might have to, yeah. And what's crazy is you'll think, maybe you want the bone to like attach to the sphere out here, right? Like out here. It doesn't work that way because it works on a bounding box. So it's going to shove it into that sphere anyway. So if you really wanted to make it work and look like that, you would have to take, and this is the confusing dumb part, you would have to take a little, like a point, and drag it to the center of this sphere so it stretches that bounding box so it will make it look that way. Does that make sense? That's the only way you could really make it do that. But I'm gonna do this. It'll probably look just like this. The ends will be jammed into the spheres like that. Okay. Anyway, let's get going on replacing stuff. So how do you replace stuff? Let's go to this ostrich because it's easy. This ostrich. Okay. Because there's fewer parts. So first thing you want to do is select the master z-sphere and then go to adaptive skin. Excuse me, and then turn on use classic skinning. And then I'm going to hit insert local mesh, but I need to have a mesh ready to grab, okay? So I'm going to go back to my parts one, and then I'm going to get the basic sphere, which is right here, because I want whatever one is active of this parts list is the one that I'm going to be able to grab from my, I'll show you when I get over there. Okay, so if I go to adaptive skin and I go insert local mesh, you'll see it popped up on my list. See this sphere? Now I can click it and it looks like nothing has happened, okay? But what has happened is it's essentially assigned that sphere mesh to all of the z-spheres in here, but they're not going to show up until I actually replace the connector mesh, okay? What do you think of so much ZBrush tool? Do you think the retopology is any good for animation? No, it's not. Is there a way to use it with a low and a high and a specific retopology? You can use it with a low, you can use it with a high, but if you watch Joe Pickop's interview with me, we talk about it. Did you watch that, Lee? We talk about it, and we walk through exactly what it's good for and what it's not good for. So if you go to additional resources, there's actually an interview with Joe, and we talk about his so much ZBrush. And you can see exactly why it's not good for animation. Okay, but if each bone ends at center, couldn't you end up with bone to bone and just delete or minimize the spheres later? You know, I guess you could. So let me replace some of these first, and then I'll show you what you have as far as options go. Okay. So now we have this Z-sphere. You have to be on move or something like that so you can select it. Okay. Let me actually select one out here so we can see it. You can't see the connection here very well. So yeah, Lee, I would go watch that that interview with Joe. Okay. Yep. No problem. Okay. So if I say insert connector mesh, let's go back to my parts. And then we need to pick a part that we're going to use, okay? So say I'm going to pick these bones. There's the bones. Now go back to this ostrich. I know this can get confusing and overwhelming and just like, what in the hell are you doing? Go back to adaptive skin, insert connector mesh, and now pick those bones, and there you go. Well, thanks, Chris. That was one of my funner interviews. That was a really good one. Okay, now notice what happened. Since I replaced this connection mesh, this Z-sphere now turned into that sphere that I had assigned to the root. Okay, so you can see now. This is beautiful, isn't it? Okay, so if I hit A, this is awesome. So if I hit A to see a preview, you'll see the horrible classic skinning that we're getting, but then you also see that these bits are getting skinned, and this is what the mannequin that we want to end up with our entire thing looking like. So you kind of have to ignore what's going on here and here and just look at this Z-sphere and this connection, okay? Okay, so obviously, well, and what you were saying, Chris, is, yeah, you could go through and you could just delete these spheres, and then you would be left with just the bones, and bone on bone if you wanted to do that. Total chicken legs. Kind of super disturbing. Okay, so let's go back to our parts, and let's pick, I want to show you this one. So this one that was kind of like a bone that I was working on. And then what's cool is now I can go back to select this sphere again, go back to my adaptive skinning. I wish it would stay open. And insert connection mesh, just replace it. It's going to replace the one before it, okay? Not the one after it, the one before it. And then I can select it, and then you can see that now it has replaced this and this, okay? And now it has kind of this really cool tapered effect to it. And it's kind of hugging the sphere like this. Okay, so now I can do the same thing with this one. I'll select this one, do the same thing, insert connection mesh, grab this, and boom, there you go. And you'll notice that it's not perfect. It's like, it's not looking how you would think it would look, but it's kind of cool. Let me select this one down here and do it. Okay. See, that's kind of cool. It's got this tapered mesh look. And it's just more interesting than the stretch spheres, right? It's got this kind of cool tapered thing going on. So if I select this one, do the same thing, and it's just more tapered. But you can see that since this one is stretched, it's also stretching that overlapping area that I was hoping would kind of grab the sphere and look like a joint, you know what I mean? Like a ball and socket joint. But this one's being too stretched, so it's not as effective, but up here it still works. It looks pretty cool. So now if I can do something differently with the tail if I want. Okay, so let's go back to my shapes, and we'll grab, here let's grab the appendage brush just for fun. I'm going to show you how that doesn't work so well. Okay, so I have the appendage brush. Let's grab this sphere right here, go to adaptive skin, insert connector mesh, and grab this. And you can't even see it, so let me pull it away. There you go. Here, let me, there we go. So you can kind of see how it kind of works up here, but then as it tapers, then all of a sudden it's hitting this really big Z-sphere and it's not working very well. Is there a way to twist the middle part, or do you need to make another one that is twisted? You would need to twist it, but I can show you. Let me show you a cool part that works, I think, the way you're thinking. Okay, so but first let me go back here. I want to show you this, just the regular cylinder. This cylinder probably works the best. Okay. So to get something like that, we need to make a shape that has that flare at the edge. Yeah. So now look how this one's built. See how it just kind of tucks in right before this sphere? It just kind of, it doesn't go all the way up here because it has this hemisphere on the top. Okay. So let me use this shape, and let's go replace. Whoops. Let's replace this one with it, and you'll see how much better it works. So insert connection mesh, and then that sphere, and then let's move this away. See that? It works more like regular Z-spheres work, and then it just kind of connects to it. It looks like a bumblebee's butt. So and see if I move this, it just kind of, and that's how the mannequins, like the elephant and the rhino and stuff that Pablo built, that's how he built those, is with cylinders like this. Okay, so you can build in a taper into the parts if it makes it look more organic if you do, and I'll show you some varieties of tapers that I've built just so you can see. But I want to show you that I could put a stinger on this ostrich. It'll be fun. So I made a stinger, but it's that hook thing, right? So let's pick that hook and go back. Select this leaf bone. Go to adaptive skin, insert connection mesh, and we'll pick that stinger thing. But it's shaped like this. Okay, so, and it's facing down. But you'll see that Z-sphere disappeared, okay? But now I have like this stinger, okay? Because I replaced it with that mesh that I made. Then I could do, like, you know, fingernails and horns and things like that. Okay, so what if I want to twist this, like you were saying, Jason? If I wanted to twist this so it was facing the opposite direction, it will spin sometimes. Let's see. No, it's facing down. But look how it stretches out, and yeah, you can have a lot of fun with it. But if you want to spin it, you have to pick this one, and then you have to turn off symmetry. This is going to be a little difficult because it's on here. But see how it spins. Yeah, I could spin it all the way around if I wanted to. But you have to pick the joint, not the bone. Anyway, ostrich stinger. Okay, so I think that stinger tip thing is going to be a lot of fun, especially with like dragon wings or like those little crab legs and things like that. So I mean, you can even do a lobster claw, right? And just make big old claws and make them the ends as leaf bones. You could totally do that. In fact, I might, but we'll see. Okay, so I'm just going to go up this neck with the cylinder. But I want to show you, let me see, this tapered one right here first. So let's just grab this one, insert connector mesh, pick the tapered one. And you can use fewer Z-spheres if you're doing mannequins this way. See how that's, I mean, totally messing up his neck, but if you're just looking at these two Z-spheres, you can see how that vase kind of tapered shape works. So that's another, here, let me just pull it up like this. So if you can see, if you want a taper shape, and that would also work well for like a leg or an arm, like a forearm or a lower leg. If you wanted to, you could even introduce a little bit more shape to it. And then I wanted to show you one more on to use on the inside of a leg. Like if you were to select this one, let me go back to my shapes. I made one that has a flat on the inside. See how it's flat right here? And it kind of indicates the inside of the flat leg. So I know I totally need a hotkey. Oh, it's very annoying. Tell me about it. Okay, so I'm on here, insert connector mesh. Oh, come on. This is also annoying. That menu keeps collapsing on itself. Oh, I can't tell. I can't see it. Hold on, let me grab this one. Okay. All right, so you can see how the flat is on the outside. Well, I can grab, rotate, and rotate the entire thing in. Well, maybe. Let me grab this one, actually. There we go. That's what I'm trying to do. So I would have to take the time to rotate that to be on the interior of the thigh, this flat piece right here. And then I'd have to like re-rotate this piece into place. There we go. I'm getting some gimbal happening. But it's just kind of a fun way to like show the inner thigh of something, or the inside, you know, like the armpit. You know how you always run into that when you put your arms down, you're going to have objects colliding with other objects. Well, you could totally make it flat. Yeah, me. Yeah, it totally looks like he's running now. Oh, saving, come on. Yeah, it's a lot of fun to pose. It's really fun to pose. And the reason why is because it's not like your typical rig with all the handles everywhere. You know, those little lines in outer space that you have to grab and move. You can actually physically grab the mesh and move it, which is awesome. So you could build the shapes with a piece intentionally meant to be hidden by the Z-sphere to have more control over the part ending at the sphere surface. Maybe. You might be able to do that, Sean. The best thing to do would be to experiment with it. Okay, why is this taking so long? Drink break. Okay. The stream might choke a little bit. Yay. Bear with me. Bear with me. Saving forever. I don't know if you can still hear me or not. Okay, I gotta clean my scene up because it's taken, it's gigantic. This is saving a project. What in the world? Come on, ZBrush. Okay, next I'm just gonna, now that you know how to replace all the pieces and parts, I'm just gonna build an animal. Hopefully you guys can hear me. I don't know what is taking so long. Okay. Gosh. Come on, save. It's all skipping around. Dial-up video calls. Goodness. Okay, I'm going to close it and then reopen it because this is crazy. All right. Let's try that again. Oh, you used up all your AOL time. Come on, ZBrush. It's my Horizon Zero Dawn background. I haven't changed it still. The most recent session. Yeah, it's because I had all of those models loaded. I don't want them all loaded. Okay, let's go to here. Okay, so let's make a Aloy. Yep. Okay, let's make a character, and I'll show you how I would do it. I do want to load in my parts though. Nope. Downloads. Parts. Just so I have them ready because I want to show you what you can also do with the parts. Okay. That's my sphere. Okay. Now I want to go back here and append a Z-sphere. Okay, I'm going to make an armadillo. Armadillo. Okay, this way is forward. Okay, how I would make an armadillo. I would start with the Z-sphere, and then I'm just going to draw. Make sure you're on the Z-sphere. You can tell because it has this little line coming out from the center, and I also want to be on symmetry. So then I have two dots floating around the surface. Now green indicates the axes coming off, and that's where you kind of want to be. That's the sweet spot when you go to draw something. It's not necessary, but it'll give you a better mesh in the end. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna put the parts file up in the same place that the base meshes are up there. I'm gonna put it in the download section. I actually I need to get that download section more visible somewhere somehow. So, okay. So we're gonna go and just draw out a sphere. Okay, let's take a look at what armadillos look like. I like looking at clip art because it's more cartoony and stuff, and just to see how other people have interpreted an armadillo. But basically, you have like these plates, right? And then these feet hanging off, these spiky claw things, and this little snout, and these ears, and this tail coming out from underneath the armor. Yeah, super cool. They roll up in balls and stuff. So I'm going to have that kind of floating off on my other screen here. I'm actually going to put it over here so I can see your yapping. Okay. So let's make the main body first. We can essentially just move this around. Let's hide the ruler now. I'm going to keep the floor on just for a minute. And then just move this down. Now you can see that I'm not getting the arc that I really want. And I can, increase the size of the root sphere just by going to scale, and I can go up and down like this. Okay, so now that I'm at this point, what I can do is I can kind of start making a mannequin by loading in my replacement parts before I continue. Because you saw how it was kind of a pain in the butt to replace every single one every single time. Well, what you can do is you can kind of set your insert mesh before you draw, and it will, next time you draw, it will remember what you set. Okay, so I'm gonna grab this main piece. I wish I would have known that, because I would have drawn all the other ones that way. Okay, so with this main piece, I'm gonna go to adaptive skin, turn on classic skinning, insert local mesh. This is gonna replace the Z spheres. Local mesh, boom. Okay, and you won't see anything yet. Then I'm going to, with this one still selected, I'm going to say insert connector mesh. Actually, I need to pick it. I'm just going to go pick the, I'm going to pick the cylinder, just this guy right here. That seems to be the safe one. Okay, so let's, again, with the stupid menus, go down and pick insert connector and pick this one. Okay, now when I draw, it should load in. It didn't. Okay, let's try it again. Let's try it with this one. Gosh. Thanks, ZBrush. Okay. Yeah, this is it's a leaf. So it should do it now. What? Come on, let's pick this again. Load local mesh. I don't know why it's not working. I might have to ask Paul the sequence on that again. So I'm just trying to load it up again. Insert connector mesh, local mesh. There it goes. That one. Oh, there is? That's awesome, Overton. If you hold shift when selecting the menu tab, both things selected will stay open. Yeah, that's right, Mark. So if you hold down shift, see, normally if you click, it will collapse everything and open whatever menu you select. But if you have a menu open and you want to open the adaptive skin in addition to this one, you can hold down shift and it'll pop it open. Yeah, good point. I've been doing that this whole time and I haven't said anything. Okay, so let's see if it works now. Come on, no. Okay, let's see. Okay, so I wanted to show you this. This is another thing that I ran into when I was doing it in the first place, before I knew the rules, right? Is you can either replace the connector mesh, or you can replace the local mesh, but you can't have both going down the chain. That's why I said all Z spheres have to be the one shape. You can't change them hypothetically, but you can. But if you do, it's going to make the connector one disappear, and that's not what you want. So let's see. Insert connector mesh. I already did that. But when I draw, so I've seen Paul do it where he drew the next one out, and oh, there it goes. Yeah. Okay. There, it made it. There we go. Now it's doing it. Okay, that's what I was trying to get it to do, is just to continue to draw as I go. That's what I wanted. Because I don't want to sit and insert that stupid thing every single time, right? Okay, I can do the same thing over here. Insert connector mesh. Let's go back to grab that cylinder. That's crazy. Okay. Holding down shift to open that up. Okay. Insert connector mesh. There we go. Okay, and if you have draw selected and you hold down shift and click on this sphere, oh, it builds it off the last one? That's weird. Okay. Okay, so if I draw one out and then hold down shift and tap, it should make another one. Should. Sometimes it doesn't always do it. Anyway. I don't know. I just it was like happy accident. I accidentally found a good way to do it. It just worked. Okay, and you'll see that it whatever Z-sphere I have selected, it will become a Z-sphere for a moment, and then it will go back to being a mesh. So this is what it's looking like right now. So basically, now that I have these drawn out, I can go back in and scale them and make them look better. So with an armadillo, I'm going to try and make the body kind of all the same thickness. And then the tail, I want to be really small and drop down here and just pop out from underneath. And then kind of curve and go down. Yeah, so then you just kind of work through it that way. I could put one more and make it even smaller. So I wish this cylinder was kind of covering more of this shape, but that's kind of what I get. Okay, let's go back. We can turn the floor off now. Draw another one. And then draw another one. That'll be his little mouth head thing. This will be his head. Scale this one way down. I think I kind of want to have this cylinder be the end. So maybe I'll add another one in the neck. So if I want to do that, I just go to draw and make sure I'm in the middle on a joint and click it. Now I can scale this down. You want your brush size small because you can accidentally scale down multiple objects at the same time. You can put that in there. Yeah, sometimes it's hard to manage. You just kind of have to work with it. Make his head big. I want his head to be like right on his body. Like that's kind of how they are. It's like a bulbous weird. Why are some of the spheres you click on shades of green? So those are the insert meshes or the in-betweens. So like are you talking about this color right here? This is the yeah, that's the measurement in the middle in between the two things. Man, armadillo is harder than I thought. Because I want to get rid of this big old Bulbasaur. Maybe that'll work. Just want to jam it down in there. And then if I do So now what I can do is draw out the ears like this, and then replace them with ears. So if I go back to my shapes and I grab the stretched hemisphere, this one, and then I go grab this one, open up adaptive skin, insert connector mesh, and select that hemisphere. You can see that it kind of turned into this, it swapped it out, but it's facing the wrong way. So let's grab it and spin it. Whoop. Actually, I want to spin it the other way. Okay. So now I can move it. Move this around. I kind of want it to start out here and then go up. So maybe I'll do a new one on top of that. Okay, this is going to be kind of stupid, but I want it to look like that. So I'm just going to jam that other one down in the head. And twist this one. Okay, and I want them shorter and fatter. So I'm going to grab them and just make them plump, more plump. And this will have to be cleaned up for sure. But okay, maybe add more on this tail. And I think it's still loaded with this cylinder back here. So if I draw, it's going to continue the chain with it, which it did, which is good. And I can just take that. And what's cool about inserting a mesh in the middle of a chain is it will take on the taper. And so I don't have to scale it. So for example, let me just draw one right here. And I'll just pull it way out here. So you can kind of see the taper on it. Here, I'll put I'll make it opposite so you can really see that taper. So big old taper. If I draw in the middle, so I hit Q, click in the middle, you can see that it keeps that taper, even though it's got a new sphere in the middle. This is a new kind of armadillo. And then again, to delete these Z-spheres, you just hold down Alt while in draw mode and click on them and they'll go away. Okay, let's do the leggies. Draw some legs. See, it goes pretty quick. Like I said, you can just turn on some good music and make some Z-sphere armadillos. And you can also, like, you want to make sure like I said, your brush size is small enough. And you can pull out a Z-sphere, like where the tip of the foot is going to be. Then hit draw, click in the center, and then pull that foot back. You can make a foot that way. So I kind of want his toes sticking out like this. And you can do several, you can make several Z-spheres come off of one. Like this. Gosh. Come on, camera, work with me. Shrink it down. So we make it like 3 toes or whatever. If if you want to. That middle of the neck sphere looks like an olive green. I guess I don't see it. Are you talking about when I select it? Like that? That's just indicating the selected sphere. See how it just changes? Like this one, it's just a polygroup. So that one's orange, this one's purple. That one's kind of an olive green. That's more of a whatever color that is, like a purple. So they just change as you select them. I see what you're asking. Yeah, this one's an olive green. It's just indicating selection. There's a red. That's all. Just because my poly group is on. If my poly group wasn't on, it would always be red. So I don't know why it's changing colors, but it is. Armadillogoiter.com. Oh my goodness. I gotta shrink that down. There. Thank you, Armadillo Goiter. That's much better. No, you can't unsee it. Okay. Toes. And like I said I could replace these toes. I can give them like those eagle claws, the talons, if I wanted to, which I might. We'll see. I don't want him to be too vicious. Come on, little vicious armadillo. They're like badgers. Put wheels. Something you can do, you know how animals' legs, where they connect, they have like that. It's almost like that big shoulder area, like in this whole space. What you can do is grab a Z-sphere like this and really scale it up. Come on, just the Z-sphere. And then kind of bury it in the body. So it just peeks out right there. And then you'll get that that connection spot. You can make it even really big. Push it in. It just gives a better connection rather than just a little thing hanging out there. And then again, we can draw one more in here and then make it taper quicker. Kind of go back with it. That way you have a better connection point right here. See that? Armadillo. Cute little armadillo, aren't you? Hold this down just a bit. Getting a little too bulbous there. I wish I could copy this leg and paste it back here, but I can't. Okay, so let's do it again. Let's draw. Almost done with this guy. Draw another one. Will I be doing a tutorial on fiber mesh hair anytime? I'm not that big of a fan of fiber mesh, to be honest with you. I could, and I have before during Q&A sessions. I'm trying to think. Let me just look really fast. I have talked about it before. See if I remember one really fast. No. Okay, I don't think so. So maybe I could do one during this Friday Q&A session. But you can't It's kind of difficult because you can't really use fiber mesh in games, so I avoid them. They're good for illustration sometimes, but they're very, very hard to wrangle. It's like herding cats, right? It's like just to try and comb the fiber mesh is quite difficult. One second. So I will tend to either just do like stubble with it, or I will do, I'll do minimal hair here and there. And the hair that I have done in the past, sometimes I do happy accident and it's like it happens to work out, but a lot of times it just doesn't. It's just very, very difficult to manage. ZBrush stream? Oh, okay. Oh yeah, you're the Einstein. Thank you. I mean, yeah, the Einstein during the Pixelogic live stream I did hair, and you can see how it turned out. It's just not. It's not that great. It's just kind of all over the place, which is Einstein's hair. So I'm like, hey, perfect. Okay, so looking at this from the top, see you can make those nice leg transitions. Even bigger. Just put it in there so it just barely kind of peeks out and changes that silhouette to make it look like legs that are connected. Like that. Then what I'll do is sometimes I'll bring the feet down so I can measure on this line right here. See how his head is kind of touching, his tail is touching, and these feet are sort of touching, but I want to make sure that they're on plane like this. I'll move this guy down and this one down. So then it's all kind of on a plane. I just use that as a measuring tool sometimes. And then we can come back in here and just add those toes to finish them off. I made Bandit from Johnny Quest with fiber mesh, and it was a pain to go. Man, everybody has their fiber mesh story. I was on the front lines of fiber mesh. I wish it was better. I guess Blender is a little better as far as their hair system is concerned, as far as combing it goes, but not that much better. I don't know, you Blender folks might be able to speak to that. Okay, so let me scale this guy up a little bit more. All right, now if I hit A, that's what he looks like dynameshed. So see, now I can go right in here and start cleaning this up, and I can kind of have a start to an armadillo. Armadillo. Yeah, it's a good thing to have in your bag of tricks, honestly. It's that's why I'll pull it out once in a while, like when I was doing Einstein or something fun. I think I did it on Frankenstein. If you look back at some of my live streams, I did a Frankenstein. His hair was crazy all over the place, and it was just kind of fun. It's easy to make messy, like poof hair, right? But to make something that's nice and groomed and looks good, it's a little more difficult. It's possible, it's just a little more difficult to do. So, okay, I'm going to save this as Armadillo. Armadillo Z-Sphere. There you go. Now he's a mannequin armadillo. So he's like a Z-Sphere, but he's got these better ears, a better snout thing. Yeah, just better parts that you can build him with. Then you can come by and, like, make that that kind of a shelf along here later if you want to. And then you just do the next one. Let me delete this. Save it again. Okay. So as long as you just have your parts loaded over here, then you can just replace your parts as you build your creatures. So I guess I'm going to build a whole bunch of these in the next, I think I have 9 days. So I'll just be pumping these out like crazy. I may or may not stream it. I don't know. We'll see. Just tweaking them a little bit. And I could put, let me try to draw an eye on here and pull it in, but I doubt it's going to look good. Yeah, it didn't work. I mean, I could replace it with a sphere, I guess. Let me try it. Just to see what it looks like. Go over here, grab my sphere, go back, and go adaptive skin, insert connector, stay up menu. There you go. Why is it stretching? I think it's stretching that sphere from there to there. So I'd have to put a new one. So essentially, this is a trick that Pablo showed me. It's taking this sphere and it's stretching it, right? That's perfect right there. If I draw a new one on here, this no longer is a leaf bone. It's now here. Yeah. So this is no longer a leaf. This is the new leaf. Turning a new leaf. So what I can do is see if I want this to remain a sphere, I can't stretch it or it'll stretch, right? So, messing with this makes me realize I don't need that stretched stretched sphere. I can actually stretch it. So I can hold down Alt and just drag this and like stick it on the surface. So now I have a Z sphere that's buried in there. I can just move this around. And if I hold down Alt on the chain, I can move it both together. Just kind of bury it in there. Now I have a sphere eyeball. Not that that's where it goes, but maybe like that. All right. Let's see. Love to see a course on the structure of four-legged creatures and their similarities to two-legged humans. Yeah, that's a whole that's a whole new whole other thing. Your best bet, Overton, is use reference. That's my secret, is reference. I just look at animals and build them and I keep these big spherical connections in mind when I do it. And sometimes I'll open animal skeletons to see how the skeleton's working inside the body. Like the back leg, usually animals are like, they're standing on their tippy toes almost. And then it looks like their leg is reverse, but it's almost like they're just standing on the balls of their foot and their ankles up in the air. Let's see. Can you reshape an interconnecting shape, not the Z-sphere, while still in the mannequin creation mode? No, you can only do it after the fact, Toonimator. I wish you could. And that's the beauty of using the insert multi-mesh method that I teach, is you can absolutely do that, and you should. So I'm showing you the restrictions of the mannequin method, right? So if I were to build this armadillo out of insert multi-mesh, I would not have built it this way. And it may or may not have taken me as long as this did. So like this tail would just be one piece, the body would just be one piece, and I believe the insert multi-mesh method is superior by far. If I were to you know, be so bold. So, but this is a fun thing, and it allows you to pose him easily. So like right now I could go start posing this more easily than I could you know, the insert multi-mesh. So I can start moving his leg around like this and bending it and posing it. See that? That's the benefit you get, is you can pose it when you're done. If that makes sense. So this rolls all the way around, and I could even, yeah, so you can pose it. Okay. From the vids I've watched, Blender keeps curve data, so you can use the original points to manipulate the curve directly at the later point. Yeah, that's what I've seen too. In ZBrush, yeah, in ZBrush you have to accept it and then it's gone. Yeah, that's called destructive workflow, whereas Blender's is a non-destructive workflow. That's why if you've seen Danny Max, he does it actually with chunky hair rather than like the hair fibers in Blender, but they're both like with the same idea where they follow curves. And yeah, it keeps them. So, excuse me, geez. So it's non-destructive. Okay, there's a good magazine book from Imagine Effects that covers that. Oh, really? That'd be cool to see. I'm trying to remember the guy's name. That's like, it's something. I want to say Lord, but like his last name is Lord. That he does these maquettes that are like all the muscles in the horse. He does like a horse, and I think he does a goat and a tiger. But anyway, he's like animal anatomy master. I've met him a couple times. I'm trying to remember his name. Gosh. Anyway, he'd be a good one to find too. How to draw and paint anatomy on Amazon. Okay. Covered lightly on Nomen as well. I went like 50 different references on big cats for the Creature Box Challenge. How to do a big cat anatomy. Yeah, there you go. I can't even stretch out Z-spheres. Got to look up even more basics. Yeah, so it's just, I'm just moving them around. When you select a Z-sphere, you can just use move, scale, and rotate. So with this, I'm just moving it. And then you can scale it by doing this. And see how it affects the connecting meshes. And then rotate, it just spins it on an axis. Or you have, with rotate, you have to grab the bone to do it. Okay, so you don't really stretch them, you just grab them and move them, if that makes sense. Steve Lord. Thank you, Mark. You always have the answers. Steve Lord. I had half of his name. He's an interesting guy. Steve Lord Art Station. Here you go. Yeah, this guy. He's like anatomy master. You can see all these. So he makes these maquettes of these horses. These écorchés. I don't know how to say écorché, but anyway, this really cool anatomy stuff. But he only, he only selects a few to do it to, but like this dog is amazing. So hopefully that helps. He doesn't have very many animals. And they're kind of over the top, of course, they're like anatomy crazy, right? It's like, I wonder, I thought he did a course somewhere, like on Mold 3D or something. I can't recall. But anyway, he's a good one to study. Hold on, I lost you guys. There you go. Okay. I think you can, Audrey, and I'd have to approve them when you throw a link in there. That's all. So if you don't see it for a minute, it's because I have to go, yeah, post it. camera's all dark. See if I can fix it. Yay. There. Okay, anyway, do you guys have any other questions about Z-spheres and how they work? I'm going to go and make a bunch of these. I think I'm going to take a break, and then I don't know how I can stream this without making another YouTube video and sending out the links every time. I might. I'm going to bury this sphere in his head more. Maybe like that. There you go. That's better. So if I turn Dynamesh down, I get this when I hit adaptive skin, which is not bad. Yeah, no worries. And yeah, let me know what you think about those base meshes if you enjoy them. Hopefully they help you with proportions and things like that. And take note that they are stylized, so they're not realistic by any means. They're very, very pushed. And I would recommend studying them, not using them for your characters. Like, just kind of have them open as a Z tool to refer back to. But if you start with them, they will heavily influence your character. Like, most likely I'll be able to tell if you use the base mesh or not, if that makes sense. Like, I can tell when people use base meshes off of that ZBrush Central stuff. So yeah, I would not. I mean, you can for practice if you'd like to start with it. If you want to like practice like armor or something like that, you know, feel free. And you can. I'm not stopping you by any means, but I'm just saying my recommendation is to just use it as a reference, as a tool, almost like it's an écorché model sitting on your desk that you're looking at, something like that, but you can see it close up. So that's why I haven't handed them out so far, because I didn't want to, you know, dangle the shiny object in front of you and say, you know, don't use this kind of a thing. I want you to be able to make your own characters, your own meshes and that kind of stuff. But at the same time, I feel like I'm doing a disservice to you by not giving it to you to study. So, so there you go. Oh, that Steve Lord doc is exactly what we've been looking for. Awesome. Very cool. I think he sells the prints of those as well to study. So I don't know where to buy them, but I've seen him selling them. I don't know how expensive they are either, but he sells them at CTN. I've seen him there before. So yeah, they're amazing. Super good. All right, you guys, I'm going to wrap this up and go take a break and then get back to making animals. I'll post these animals as I create them in Discord. I'll post them on Discord, like, I don't know, work in progress or something. So you guys can check them out and comment on them and tell me if any of them have big armadillo goiters or whatever. So, all right, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. And we will see you on Friday. All right? So take care and happy Z-sphering, if that's a thing. All right, you guys are awesome. Take care. Have a good one. We'll see you. That's right, Thomas. 59 watchers is awesome. I think that's a peak. So you are welcome. All right, cheers. We'll see you. Bye.